Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dental Disruptors Podcast. I am your host, Jake Larsen, here with my co-host, Clint Berry, and a friend of ours. She appeared briefly on a previous episode when we were at Dykema, but this is our friend, Brandi Carter. Hey, Brandi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing great. This is a really exciting episode for us because it is the first of a series that we've been working on and planning all year. For many of you that follow us, you may already know, but for those of you that don't, we have launched an industry award that we felt was much needed in the industry because there's so much love and appreciation that goes out, or shared, or recognition that goes out to the clinical professionals in the industry, which is well deserved, obviously. And there's even awards and recognition that go to the groups as a whole. But there's a lot of people that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the operations of a practice, in the operations of DSOs and large organizations that just work silently in the shadows, making it all happen, but don't necessarily get to be recognized. And so this award was something that we put together to try to create an opportunity for these professionals to recognize their peers, recognize each other, and create or shine a spotlight on these people that are working so hard. And Brandy is one of those. She is one of the winners of the award this year. So we want to first and foremost congratulate Brandy. Thank you so much for participating, and congratulations for really standing out amongst just an awesome group of people. But obviously what you have done is phenomenal. So we are really excited to talk to you today and kind of share your experience, your growth, some of your expertise with our listeners. So congratulations again, Brandy, and thanks for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for inviting me, and thank you for creating this award and recognizing all the hard work that kind of goes into running a DSO.
I think there's a lot more than people actually realize too, which we're
Oh,
going to get to
absolutely.
dive into, which is really exciting. So, yeah, and why we feel like this matters. Just one more thing, like Clint and I are really big on culture, right? We know how important culture is to the success of any organization, and we feel like there's a huge opportunity for people that can receive an award like this and be recognized and create a community where they can share ideas and uplift each other. And that's one of the things that really stood out to me as I got to know Brandy and interview her. She has a good friend of hers that nominated her, and we got to hear about the culture and that she built and that she has built at Sage, and how she leads. And it's so fun to be able to share this. It was actually kind of a common theme as I interviewed a lot of people, was just really powerful culture. So anyway, enough about that. Let's get to Brandy. Brandy is why we're here today. So Brandy, to begin with, I want to just talk about your journey in dentistry. How did you get started? Share with people how you got started in dentistry, and a little bit about your journey into leadership, evolving to where you are today.
So I kind of just fell into it, honestly. Dentistry was not something that I ever imagined myself in when I was in school or even when I was in college. I ended up getting out of college a little bit earlier and not graduating because it just wasn't fun. And I didn't enjoy learning in a classroom. And I kind of wanted to just get out into the world. So I started in sales. I started in car sales and RV sales. And I was a sales manager at an RV dealership. And a regional manager came in from a DSO to our service area. And I ended up, instead of, getting him a service done, I ended up selling him an RV. And he was like, "How would you like to get into dentistry?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "I didn't even want a new RV." And he left with one. And he was like, "Listen, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no weekends. And I think you'd be great at it." And I applied and had some interviews. And then I started in DSOs almost 11 years ago now. And it was a wild journey because they sent me on 3 or 4 months worth of training all over Florida up to New York in the dead of winter. And I had never been out of Florida in my life. So being up in New York in the middle of November was interesting. And from there, it's been an incredible journey. I started as an office manager, went into an area manager, regional manager, and now a director with Sage. And it's been a blessing in disguise, something that I thought I was getting into just because of the benefits of a work-life balance ended up turning into such a passion for people and the organizations that I worked for. And now I couldn't imagine myself not in dental.
So awesome. Tell us about some of maybe the pivotal moments, if you think back, some of those pivotal moments that shaped who you are today and how you lead. Maybe some things you've learned along the way.
Absolutely. So I think one of the pivotal moments in my career is I had a regional manager at my previous DSO who presented me with an award. He was actually in the special forces before he got into dentistry. And he presented me with a hat, one of the hats that they wear at their graduation. And he wrote on it and presented the award, and it was a lead from the front award. And at the time before he presented it, when he was talking about it, I really didn't understand when he first said it. But as he went in, he was like, listen, this is a person who is not afraid to kick down doors, jump out of helicopters, go in first, run into the fire and protect her team. She can easily lead from the back and let people have autonomy, but she's usually the first one to kind of run towards wherever the danger is. And she's the first one to jump in and get her hands dirty. And that was a pivotal moment because it reminded me that what I'm doing was important and that protecting my team was important and making sure that, I can carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. And that's my job as a leader, to protect my team and to ensure that they feel like they have a safe place and that they're protected and that I'm sticking up for them. And that kind of just honed in on the rest of my leadership and made me realize that I was in the right direction, on the right path, in the right organization at the time.
That's awesome. Clint, it's been kind of a theme, and I love this about dental. Clint and I have had lots of conversations with people recently, and it's so cool to hear these stories of individuals like yourselves that has progressed into this leadership opportunity, but it's been a leader that started you down that path, that helped you believe in yourself or pulled you under their wing and really taught you and mentored you. And I see that so commonly in dental, which is so awesome to see, right? I'm trying to think of all the different names and I won't share them, but I can think of at least 3 different people that we've talked to recently that it was a similar story. They never planned on being in dental, but someone took them under their wing, sent them down this path, and now they're doing the same for so many people, which is one of the reasons why we selected you, right? And the leadership that you're putting forth in your organization and putting people first and helping them learn and grow, which is just fantastic. So let's talk. Just this is kind of a fun question,
Yeah.
okay, as much as anything, just so that we can continue to learn a little bit about your journey. I want to hear about like an early challenge in your career that taught you a lesson. There's got to be some fun stories along the way.
Oh, so many. I am a high D and a type A personality, so I love feedback direct. If I suck, tell me I suck, help me not suck, and let's move on. And my heritage is also, I'm Italian, so, we're very animated. We talk with our hands. We tend to come across aggressive sometimes, even though we don't mean to. And early on in my career, when I first went from an office manager to an area manager and started managing more than 8 people at a time, I was giving the same kind of feedback that I had always given my team and that I like, which is very direct. And I didn't realize that I was making quite a few people cry. So I had to really just do a 180 and do some reading, look at some YouTube channels, and really just kind of reflect on what leadership looked like going forward to my team so that I could coach them appropriately and not make them cry. And one of the things that I came across was kind of a flexibility in my leadership style. So now I lead like a chameleon. I try and, in my mind, as crazy as it sounds, it's like dating. So, now I have a team of 150 plus employees. So it's like dating 150 plus people. I have to realize and learn what their love language is like, how they like feedback, how they like to be praised. You have to learn every single person individually, and you have to make sure that you adapt to that type of learning language and that type of feedback. So it was a difficult lesson because I grew up that way. I grew up with very direct feedback, and that's how I liked it. But I learned that as leaders, we have to be chameleons. We can't just be black or white. There has to be those shades of gray as we grow and as our teams grow. There's many different personalities and there's a million different ways to lead them. And if we stick to our bubble of black and white, we're going to miss out on so many opportunities with so many great people.
I love that. Clint, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I love hearing that. I think sometimes what separates just like a mediocre manager from a great manager is what you just heard Brandy say. Like she puts in the effort to know how to communicate differently with each person. I think a lot of people listening to that are probably like, "Oof, that's a lot of work." And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
management is a lot of work if you do it well. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's connecting with people ultimately. It's building those relationships, the rapport, just, not just pretending to care and acting like you care, but I care about every single one of my team members. I mean, they'll tell you that if they were broke down on the side of the road at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would probably be one of the first calls that they'd make because they know that I would absolutely go help them. I care about my people wholeheartedly, and we have to. That's what leadership is.
I love it. I'll say one more thing, Jake, and I probably said it on this podcast a bunch, but a favorite podcast on leadership was Reed Hastings getting interviewed. And the person asked him a question like, what are some of like the tricks to being a great manager? And he's like, oh, management's not about like the tricks, the top 10 tricks of becoming a great manager. It's not like this thing. He's like, fundamentally, it's about being a better person. And so I love what you just said there is like, it's about connection. And you're connecting to your people in a way that makes you a better overall person in the way you connect with people, and that makes you a better manager. And I love it so much.
Absolutely.
And I love, Clint, that you highlighted the effort that it takes. Some people aspire for leadership thinking that it might be easier and less work or something like that. But in reality, good leadership, like Brandy's highlighted, like it takes a lot of effort to be that thoughtful and intentional about how you develop those relationships with people so that you can empower them to be the best that they can be and ultimately lift the team up to be everything that it can be.
Yeah, KPIs are difficult. KPIs are easy. The people, that's the difficult part.
Amen. The KPIs are the lagging indicator. It's the result of everything else, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, really cool. Brandy, if you all can't tell, this is why Brandy was selected as one of our winners. She is phenomenal. So let's talk about some of the things that go into this award. There are certain criteria that we thought long and hard about to identify what are meaningful attributes that these individuals should have that are kind of setting the pace, setting an example for the others in the industry in a similar place. And so I want to talk, Brandy, about some of those criteria now and talk about some of the things that you're doing that exemplify that in your processes, in the way that you lead, et cetera. So let's talk first about having clear and effective practices. So if you don't mind, share with us some of the systems, the frameworks that you have found as you've gone from office manager to in charge of a few offices now to 150 employees in 9 offices. What are some of the systems or frameworks that you have learned to implement that keep things running smoothly across all your practices?
I can tell you one of the things I don't implement is a ton of deliverables. I call it death by deliverables. So, having to send me a report every day or having to send me 10 reports at the end of the week. I just have one-on-ones with my team as often as I can, usually once a week. We'll set aside 10 or 20 minutes just to chat about the week before or chat about the struggles that they're having during the week. I'm usually also in their practices at least every other week. So I'm constantly touching base regardless. I have my hand on the pulse at all times. I'll say one of the things that we've implemented this year that has made a big impact just overall for my market, and I think attributed to the success that we've seen, is our new patient welcome calls. And anytime I get a chance to talk about it, I love to highlight it because they're not just a call that calls up the new patient and says, hey, what's your insurance? Why are you coming into the practice? We get to know our patients on that call. We want to know who's coming with them, how long it's been since they've been to the dentist, what's holding them back from coming to a dentist if it's been a little while. We're not judging them. We're just getting curious because we want to know what kind of barriers we need to break down when that patient comes into the practice. Not only that, we're starting to put names to these people. So they're coming in and we're telling them, hey, when you arrive tomorrow, you're either going to meet Caesar or you're going to meet Kayla. One of those two people are going to check you in. They're going to get some additional information. And then you're going to meet with our hygienist, Susie. And then you're going to meet with Dr. Minna. we're starting to put names to the people that they're going to meet so that they have a framework of what to expect when they come in. We're taking out the guesswork. We're taking out the fear. We're taking out the anxiety of not knowing what to expect. And we're laying out that foundation of, hey, when you come in, we're going to take great care of you. We know what your chief complaint is. We know that you're afraid of the dentist. We know you're having pain. And we're going to make sure that we keep all of that in the forefront during your visit. And we're going to ensure that if we're able to take care of you when you come in, we're going to do it the same day. We're not going to have to make you wait in pain. We have specialists that come to our offices. So we're giving them all that information up front. Those new patient welcome calls used to last maybe 2 minutes. Now they're lasting anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. And yes, it takes a little bit longer, but the chances of that patient now showing up, the chances of that patient now accepting care go up substantially. I've seen in my market alone that it increases about 10% their show rate, and it's increasing the acceptance rate by about 15%, just depending on what particular area they're in right now. But overall, we're seeing an increase in patients saying yes to care because we're breaking down the barriers before they even step foot into the practice. And that was the vision that I had when I wanted them to focus on this.
That's so cool. Clint, I had a chance to talk to Brandy a little about these in her interview. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brandy, but if I remember properly, you're having the office manager make every single one of those calls, correct?
100%. That is their responsibility, and they know that's my expectation.
So just to kind of put that in context, this really jumped out to me because Clint and I come from the world of Weave, right? Of like automating recall and automating appointment reminders. And the way that impacts the brand may have, I wouldn't say a negative impact, but maybe a missed opportunity like what you've created. I love that this, from the very beginning, you're putting a high, I'll say ranking team member, right? Like taking time out of their day to call this patient, let them know that they're important. And we talk about those lagging indicators. Your KPI might be what's your case acceptance rate. But if all you're worrying about is, okay, well, how are we talking about the cases and all those different things, there's so many different components that lead to that, whether it's the trust that they feel with the office, the experience that they've had, the brand that you've built. And I just love the emphasis that puts on building that relationship of trust from the very beginning by having that office manager make those calls. And no wonder why you're seeing such impressive results from new patient growth, right? When you're putting that type of effort on it, I just think it's amazing what you're doing, and I think a great thing that other operational leaders could potentially learn from and try and see how that works for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder, like, this is, lots of offices have a little bit of hesitance to implementing AI, like voice receptionists, for instance. And I'm a technologist. I was a CTO and I'm a programmer still. And so I love technology. I love AI. But there is a time and a place where the personal touch is like super, super important. And I think that your results are speaking for themselves. And this would make me really second guess ever having anything automated call a new patient ever. Like maybe that's the technology would have to get so much better before that could ever be a thing. If you want to have high case acceptance rates, high engagement of your new patients, that's probably one spot where you'd want to avoid it.
Yeah, because you think about it, who wants to go to the dentist? Like, I work in dentistry and I still hate getting in that chair. Like, that is my least favorite thing to do of all times. So your patients don't want to come into the practice. They're there mostly because of, something's wrong, they're having pain, they have some sort of infection. And, we're just going to automate a call to them. It just doesn't, you don't have that connection. They can go to 1,000 dentists within, a 20-mile radius. Why should they pick you? Well, the reason you should pick me and pick Sage and pick us is because we genuinely care. We want to make sure that we put your mind at ease before you even step into our office. We want you to know us before you come in so that whenever we say, hey, my name is Brandy. You talked to my office manager yesterday. You now know, I'm going to check you in and I'm going to ask you some additional information. It just starts to roll and that appointment goes so much smoothly.
Yeah, I love it. And then once you have that relationship established and they have trust, there's a place and a time for that automated workflows to simplify everybody's life, right? But I love the emphasis on that first impression that that new patient is experiencing through those efforts. Really, really cool, Brandy. I love it. Let's talk about leadership impact. I want to hear about maybe some of the methodology, or how do you inspire your team, align people across different departments and regions. Tell us a little bit about your approach to leadership within Sage.
So to inspire my team, we focus on the patient and we focus on each other. And what I mean when I say that is I constantly remind them that every person who walks through our door, whether it's a team member or a patient, that somebody's somebody. Somebody loves this person. This is somebody's world, right? This is somebody's pride and joy when they come into our practice. And it's our privilege to treat them. It's our privilege to have them as a team member. It's our privilege to employ them. And if we take that approach of thinking that every single person has a purpose, that they're loved, that they're cared for, they care for each other, and then they care for the patient, and that just replicates into the business side. So the organization that I work for now, Sage, is just above and beyond when it comes to empathy and compassion. My last 2 years have been just a roller coaster. I've lost 7 direct family members. I've lost a dog, which was a really, really tough one too. So 8 significant lives in my life have been lost in the last 24 months. And in most organizations, bereavement would look vastly different than it has in my organization. Bereavement for me has been, what can we do for you? What do you need? How can we support you? When I've had to travel all over the country to be with my family who needed me at the time, it was never, when are you coming back? It was, stay as long as you need, take as much time as you need. And I try and really trickle that down to the support level too of our organization and my team. I want them to know that they're cared for, that they're supported, and that if they need something, that I'm here for them. And if you take care of your team takes care of your patients. If your patients are taken care of, then your business follows. And then there's no lag in anything. You will see year over year returns getting higher and higher. You'll see revenue grow. You'll see bottom line P&L grow. And the approach is just to care, to really care about the people in your organizations. And I know it sounds so simple, but I think it's something that leaders struggle with, because sometimes we want to lead by fear, and sometimes we want to lead with an iron fist, and we think that that's how we're going to get all these honeybees is with vinegar, but it's not. It's by caring. It's with honey. It's making sure that they feel supported, because a supported person supports other people around them and supports patients. And that's ultimately how we get buy-in. That's how we get people to follow us, to the ends of the earth. Whenever we say we have this new initiative, my team never gives pushback, because they trust me. They know that I have their best interest at heart, and they know that I wouldn't make a decision, or I wouldn't allow a process that's going to hinder them. They have that trust in me, that I care enough that, hey, if we're going to do this pilot, we're going to do it to the best of our ability, and we're going to run with it. And there's no pushback. There's absolutely, let's do this. We're a team, and we're going to make it work.
That's fantastic. Clint, do you have any comments, or because I'm ready to jump to something else on top of that, just to kind of, I want to drill in and show that everybody knows what Brandy's talking about. The results are there, but I don't want to.
No, you go ahead. I've already said too much.
No, keep talking. Okay, so here's where I want to go with this next. So for those of you that maybe lead with KPIs, which they're important, right? But as you heard Brandy talk about, the KPIs take care of themselves if you focus on culture, people, patient experience, all those types of things. So Brandy has shared with me some of the real results that she's experienced. She shared a little bit about the new patient stuff a moment ago, but I want to give her the opportunity to just share some of the key metrics and outcomes that she's shared with me that she's proud of with the rest of our listeners, because they are super impressive. And I think it is just evidence to what Brandy's talking about, and what she's doing really does make the type of impact that impacts the bottom line. So Brandy, tell us about some of the key metrics and outcomes that you're most proud of as you have grown into the leader that you are today.
So I always say that the KPIs tell me a story. They tell me a story about behaviors that are going on in the practice. And my 2025 goal was to grow, but I wasn't planning on adding any offices. We didn't have any de novos or acquisitions in the pipeline for my particular market. I wasn't planning on adding any doctor days. I had 2 doctors that I ended up replacing, and I had 1 specialist that I had to replace. But other than that, there were no additional FTEs as far as specialty goes or any of that. The only thing that we really focused on this year was behaviors. We focused on culture, treating each other kindly, doing the best thing for our patients and treating them like family. And from January of last year to the end of October of last year versus January of this year to October of this year, the market has grown year over year by 14.5% with no additional FTEs. We've added a couple, cool things like our Midas printers, but I mean, not enough to grow 14.5%. That was just truly based on connecting with people, growing our culture, and really driving home those ethics, those morals, and what we wanted the patient experience to be in every single practice.
It's amazing. I just want to make sure everyone heard that correctly. 14.5% year over year growth.
Without adding doctors.
Without adding or new locations.
Offices, yeah.
Which is just amazing. And I go back to, we kind of touched on this before, but those leading indicators, those areas that you're leading with, talking about those new patient welcome calls. I mean, Brandy, you threw out some numbers of like, I think you said 10% increase in show rate and something else for case acceptance. Like all of those little things lead up to something much bigger, but it all starts with the people inspiring others, letting them know that you care about them, so then they're going to turn around and care more about the patients, right? All those different things that you outlined. It's amazing, and I think every DSO would kill for 14.5% year over year growth for every location.
It's absolutely doable. It is 100% doable. You just have to invest in your people, and they will invest in your patients. I say it all the time, and I feel like a broken record sometimes, but it's true, and the proof is what we've been able to do this year. There's physical proof of it being practical and us being able to utilize, just caring about each other.
It's amazing. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the future. You have your boots on the ground, your ears to the ground. You see things that are happening inside of the industry. So what do you think are some of the biggest operational challenges that DSOs should be preparing for, should expect over the next few years?
I think staffing's a big one. I think that as DSOs and even small group practices, we have got to shift our focus a bit from doctors and hygienists and office managers, who we think are the primary drivers of revenue. And we need to shift a little bit to our auxiliary staff, especially our dental assistants. If you look across the board for DSOs and group practices, I can guarantee you that the highest turnover rate is through dental assistants. And the truth is that we can operate without a manager. We may not be the best, but we can. We can probably operate without a hygienist. We can get the doctor to do some cleanings for us. We can operate without, some of the auxiliary staff up front. But I've known one doctor in 11 years who will operate without dental assistants, and that doctor's now retired. Nobody else that I know who's a dentist will come into work without at least one dental assistant. Most of them want 2. In a perfect world, they all want 3. So we're losing dental assistants at an alarming rate, and staffing is an issue, and I think it is, the bottom line there is culture and how we treat our dental assistants. And I think sometimes we treat them kind of like bottom of the totem pole. I hate to say it that way, but we don't have a lot of emphasis on why they're so important. And I think ultimately DSOs and group practices need to shift the idea that the dental assistant is just as important as the doctor. And we need to ensure that we're investing in them, investing in their training, investing in their education, investing in what they want and need to feel happy at a practice. Or in about a year or 2, we're going to be SOL because we're not going to have enough dental assistants. And we're going to be looking internally to start our own dental schools and doing all these other things that we really shouldn't have to be doing if we just found a way to retain our dental assistants and make them feel like they were just as important as the dentists and the hygienists and the office managers in the practice.
That's awesome. Well, okay, another industry question, Brandy. And I think you mentioned something earlier that goes right along with this as far as getting to know your people. That's not always black and white, but there are those gray areas. We hear a lot in the DSO space about standardizing everything. How can DSO leaders balance innovation and the individual people and the needs versus standardization?
I think standardization is great. I think we need SOPs. I think we need policies that give us the groundwork to be successful. I think organizations that have big HRs, that have big IT departments, that have compliance, those are the ones who really need to be structured. Those are the departments that I wouldn't sway from structure there. However, when it comes to operations, you need a couple directors or even just a couple offices where you can have disruptors. You need a couple offices like that will just run with the wind no matter what you give them. Ones who are successful, and the only way they would be unsuccessful is if you shut them down. They have plenty of patient flow. They have great doctors, great leaders, and those need to be the offices that you can go in and you can disrupt. And what I mean by that is you can pilot things, pilot them quickly, find out the success, go ahead and shut it down if it's failing. And if it's succeeding, then you can start to look at how you're going to launch it throughout the company. And I think sometimes as organizations, we're afraid to do that because we see a practice that's thriving, that's has 30% EBITDA, and we're like, we don't want to touch it. But those are the ones to touch. Those are the ones that can have a little disruption without affecting the bottom line too much. And those are the ones that we can pilot these ideas and we can see if they work, and we can go to town and we can have the standard, but we can test other standards along the way. And I think there has to be that area of gray. And as DSOs grow and as group practices grow, you have to identify those practices or identify those people who are not afraid to challenge the status quo. SOPs are great, but as we continue to change, as AI comes in, as technology comes in, as we struggle to staff, those SOPs are going to be foundations. They're not going to be the Bible. They're not going to be something that we have to stick to all the time. We're going to have to be flexible. We're going to have to live in the gray. And you need people in your organization who are brave enough to say, hey, I'll try it. I'll try it quickly. I'll fail quickly, or I'll win quickly.
So let's talk about that. Some of these what are some technologies or trends or things that you're seeing that you're the most excited about?
3D printing to me is always exciting. So, I think that also aligns with what patients are wanting, what we're seeing patients want, and that will want in the next 2 to 3 years. They want dentistry that's easy, quick, fast, convenient. And 3D printing is doing it. I mean, we're printing crowns in 15 minutes. We're printing onlay and inlays in less than 8, or about 8 to 9 minutes.
Wow.
We haven't touched on dentures quite yet as an organization, but I know other organizations are printing dentures. So I think 3D printing is kind of the next wave that's coming out, and it's coming out very quickly. It hit us quickly, and we're continuing to grow with it. I think it's one of those game changers that if you're afraid of it, you need to get on board, because a patient getting a front tooth, chipped and having their daughter's wedding on Saturday, we don't want to put them in a temporary. That's, what are the chances of that front tooth coming out in the middle of them doing their first dance or eating, their first meal? There's a high chance they want something that they can come in that day, get it fixed, and they can smile for the wedding and not have to be afraid that something's going to fall out of their mouth and the pictures are going to look awful. And that's the world we're living in right now. You think of Amazon, right? You can order something and get it tomorrow morning by 4 a.m. I can order it right now at almost 4 o'clock and get it in almost 12 hours. We're to that point in dentistry now, and 3D printing is bringing us closer and closer to the Amazon, right, of dentistry.
That's amazing. Well, Brandy, I know that we only got through a portion of our agenda, but you've been so kind to give us this much time. I hope that all of our listeners have had a chance to get to know Brandy and just see how awesome and amazing she is, the results, and hopefully been inspired by some of the things that she's doing and has some ideas of things that they can try to just lift the industry as a whole. Brandy, you're amazing. The results that you've seen and the impact that you're making are phenomenal. And we are honored to be able to provide, even though it's a little bit of recognition, hopefully it's something that can grow and people can be inspired by what you're doing. So thank you so much, Brandy, for everything. Clint, you got any final words or questions for Brandy?
Only just congratulations, Brandy. We're so glad that we got to know you. It's awesome.
Thank you, guys. I am really honored and just humbled to even be recognized. And, there's a lot of amazing operators out there, and I know I was up against quite a few amazing ones. So it's an honor, it's a privilege, and thank you guys for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brandy. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for our next episode. We've got 2 other winners that we're going to have on here, and I'm sure they're going to have equally amazing stories to tell and advice and little nuggets to share with other operators. So thanks again, Brandy. Thanks, everybody, for listening to us, and we look forward to having you all join us next time.